Today we're talking about sunlight. Sunlight is actually really, really important for our nervous system. We think about sunlight for vitamin D, which is good for maybe immune system or our circadian rhythm. And we don't maybe realize how much that actually is going to help with our mental health and the whole structure and system of our nervous system. Our nervous system has our brain at the top of it, and our brain is definitely going to be impacted by the amount of sunlight that we receive, the quality of it, how much of it we get, and and if it's going to be during, a hot summer month where there's lots and lots of sunlight, or if we're in the winter where we have very little. It all is going to impact our brain. And why is that important? Well, for one thing, our brain is where we are producing melatonin, and melatonin signals to the body that it's time to sleep. If you have sleep trouble, melatonin might be something you're thinking a lot about. Maybe you're taking melatonin. Think also about how sunlight exposure at the right time of day can impact how well your body can shut down and go to sleep. So research is suggesting that if we are to get up in the morning, hopefully there's some sunlight, we can get out into the sunshine and have those sun rays come into our eyes, not by like staring directly at the sun. We don't want to damage our eyeballs, right? We don't want to damage our retinas, but we can be outside and just allowing sunlight to come into our eyes and like for instance, not using sunglasses, which would block some of those rays. But with our eyes uncovered, allowing the natural light to come in, it signals to our brain, time to stop producing melatonin, time to be awake, time to be alert, time to be active. And then with the body creating a system or a rhythm, then about 12 hours later, our body starts to say it's time to get ready for sleep. We might start to slow down, where our energy level starts to relax. And then the melatonin starts to be produced again, which helps us have that feeling of sleepiness. And hopefully, when we get into a good habit of regular wake time and regular sleep time, that can train our brain to have that rhythm so that we sleep deeper, sleep longer, hopefully have fewer interruptions at night. So try that. If you're having sleep trouble, try getting outside in the morning at about a regular time and expose yourself to sunlight to trigger and signal to your body it's time to be awake. So think about how that impacts children. So often, so much of the school year, we're going to school in the dark, and our children are not getting that natural sunlight exposure. It's important for schools to then consider having as bright of a room as they can, allowing in natural light throughout the morning so that that signal does come to them. And perhaps thinking about taking children outside so they can have that access to sunlight. And even if it's an hour or two later into the day, but at least signaling to the body, this is time to be awake and alert. So with the brain, we're also considering how sunlight is going to impact mood. We think about our brain as being a source of neurotransmitters. And one of those neurotransmitters is serotonin. Serotonin is mostly produced in the gut, but it is also partially produced in the brain. So if we're getting sunlight and the sunlight is soaking into our skin and it's converting into vitamin D, then our body is going to be signaling to have greater health. We have our immune system stimulated by that vitamin D. We're also promoting bone health and also cardiovascular health. There are many ways that soaking in that sunlight is going to then improve our overall health. If we have better health, we tend to feel better and be more optimistic and have those enjoyable and wonderful emotions that we like of being joyful or happy or excited or calm or peaceful or creative. So all of these are emotional experiences we have in our body when things are flowing well. We're more likely to then have our brains be in a state of safety, which allows us to rest and digest, and also to learn and process and think deeper, have a longer perspective, to plan, to reason, to use logic. Processes that are so important to us having an overall positive and resilient life. Sunlight is a part of that. And if we don't get ourselves outside, we're going to miss out on some of these very positive benefits. Now, when the weather is so hot and horrible, like it is right now in East Texas, it can be hard to feel like going outside. So when we take that initiative, that responsibility for our well-being to say, well, I do need to be outside for at least 10 to 30 minutes. That's what research is saying. 10 to 30 minutes of access to sunlight can make a big impact on our physical wellness and our mental health, and it's all connected. So making a plan is what happens when we're using our prefrontal cortex. So we have to believe that this is important. We have to understand that there are benefits. And we also have to have the emotional side saying, I want to survive. I want to thrive. So the survival center of the brain can also be used to help you make good decisions and to move forward in healthy ways because you want to survive, you want to thrive. It's a natural instinct. So combining all these different parts of our brains that do incredible functions and utilizing all of that, we gain that resolve to then move forward and make better patterns and habits in our lives. So to summarize, and my name is Michelle Cox, I'm a certified life coach. So summarizing some of these benefits of sunlight, it helps us to get into a better sleep pattern, especially if we're exposing our eyes to sunlight earlier in the day, as early as we can. And obviously, there are going to be months of the year where it's dark till much later. So in that case, if we can't access sunlight, we can use phototherapy. We can think about getting a special lamp that is available and invented for this purpose to help us have those UV rays that we need. And also, if we're not able to get a lot of sunlight and have that vitamin D, we can access it through some foods. If you have limited access to sunlight, you can do it through nutrition. So let's think about how we can also impact our mental health through sunlight. There is a gland in our brains that is stimulated by sunlight, and that also helps to boost our mood. And that particular gland helps us to have higher mood. It helps us to have that serotonin and other neurotransmitters released, and then we can regulate ourselves better. So if we're inside in the dark all the time, that's why we can end up feeling more depressed because we're not getting that sunlight that stimulates this part of the brain and other parts of the brain that keep us feeling alive, alert, feeling that capable of handling life, tackling challenges, and then, like I said, if you have higher physical health, your mental health is often going to be better as well because you're not feeling aches and pains or dragging and feeling heavy and slow and sluggish. So having that access to sunlight is really important. So a message I also want to throw out there is to employers. Think about how you can create more opportunities for your employees to get access to sunlight. Look at the way you position office spaces and cubicles. Are you allowing in natural sunlight, natural light that can help your employees to have these mood boosting opportunities and also to help their brain to be alert and ready for work? It can be a benefit to also consider allowing more break times earlier in the day so that your employees can access sunlight even just 10 to 30 minutes. That can help them with their productivity. And if their health is better, their immune system is stronger, they're going to miss less work because they're healthier. They're going to feel more productive and more engaged. So it's worth looking at. In the workplace, that's that example, and also in schools, getting our children outside, all ages. And I think there's such a lack of outside opportunity a lot of times as children move into middle school and they don't have recess anymore. And in high school, maybe their only access outside is during sports, and not all children, not all teenagers are enrolled in sports. So our children are really missing out on these very, very important opportunities to help stimulate their immune system, help their circadian rhythm to be established and consistent, and also to tell their brain to stop producing melatonin and start to be awake. It's time to be awake, time to be alert. If you feel like this is a challenge for your family to have access to sunlight, take a look at your daily routines. Notice when you probably could be outside for 10 to 30 minutes, even if it's really hot, and do it safely with sunscreen. And then you can still access that benefit even if you have limited opportunities. But see how you can create that. Notice when your family might be sitting in the living room watching TV, or everybody's on a device, when you could be outside for that 10 minutes and spend that time together and have fun and play, then come inside and cool down and relax. So that's all I want to share today, but I want to emphasize again the whole concept of having a healthy nervous system. So often we talk about how to have a healthy heart, how to have healthy lungs, and how to have different systems of your body working well, and we don't talk enough about our nervous system. If it's good for your brain, it's good for your nervous system. And if it's good for your heart, consider how your heart is part of a system that is impacted and influenced by your nervous system, because your nervous system has nerves that go all throughout your body. So if those nerves are going to impact how your heart is beating and how your lungs are moving and how your digestion is flowing, then realize how your nervous system is supported is going to impact so much more of you. It's all connected. And so I want to close off with that. My name is Michelle Cox, and this is Let's Talk. Join me again next week for the final segment of this series on everyday resilience through caring for our nervous system, which will be about sleep. And there's a lot to be said about sleep and how that just impacts so much of your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health. So start thinking about your own sleep practices and get ready to hear some great information next week on how you can really tap into an incredible power in creating overall wellness. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next week.